Hey guys, welcome back to Lyle's Garage. This is episode 560 on the GT750 engine build. I think really it's episode 5. I should have had that information before I hit record. Anyways, basically where we're at now is we're trying to finish up the motor. I think I might have all the parts, but I've thought that before and was wrong. And I'm prepared to be wrong again. Let me show you guys kind of what this mess is all about. Get you guys in a little closer, and we'll get started on this stuff. Basically what I did was I took all of the pieces that I need to address still, and I put them on this side, and all the pieces I've already polished or ordered and bought are all on this side. So got nice shiny clean parts everywhere on this side, and new parts. Got a whole bunch of new hardware, spark plugs. Paid way too much for these SRIS lines. Check valve, we got all that. In case you didn't see the older videos, the bike was laid down a few times. Just a little bit. So my alternator, dynamo, generator, whatever it's called, that cover can't be used right now. I think that's probably just trash. Also, there is a little tiny chip. It's hard to see right there. There, right there, right there, and right there, and right there, and right there, and a smash right there. So that part's going to be useless. I have my original wire knitting ball of stuff there. I don't really know if this bike has a generator or an alternator, so I'm just going to use the word alternator, maybe, or dynamo. The alternator has some good parts on it, but I ordered some new ones from eBay, and the new one from eBay came with all of that kind of, whoops, wrong part, came with all of that stuff already. So, and I'll pull that out later. You'll see it later. But I also got the little side cover thing with the points, little bracket. So, and that's got all of the actual points assembly and the condensers from this bike. The guy melded with it. Even some of those knock pin, dowel pin things. So, pretty cool eBay seller. I got that for like $100, and he sent everything. Amazing. Same with this guy. So, if you're out there, whoever I ordered those from, thank you very much. Basically, what I'll do in the next couple minutes, hopefully for you guys, maybe a couple days or weeks for me, is I'll go through and I'm going to clean up all of these parts and take them from that and try to get them to shiny status, chrome status again. And I'm not certain the method I'm going to use. I got a new sandblaster. I might try to use some bead blasting action. This is the last piece, side cover piece that I need. As you see, it's missing that chunk right there. The chunk where we're looking through that hole. And this piece actually could be used because this other side piece covers it. And the mounting hardware is all there, but it just seems really wrong to go through all this effort and just to put on that broken turd. So more than likely, I'm going to try to find one of these. If I can find another one of these, I'll use this old one or one of those old ones to kind of test out the sandblasting cabinet. And then what I think I'm going to do is clean everything with some gas and paintbrushes, and then sandblast, and then wire wheel, and then wet sand, different grits. And then when I get around 1,500, 2,000 wet sand, we'll take it out to polish. And we'll see how that method works. Basically, I just got a lot of cleanup. There's a lot of the hardware that I got to clean and polish. I got that gear selector indicator thing. Oh yeah, I got to measure all the clutch fibers and check the warpage on the steel. Anyways, guys, I'm going to get started. I'm going to try to put this video together in a way that's a little bit better than the other ones. They don't always work out that way, though. So I'll just show what I can, try to edit together the best I can, throw in some good, what you call it, throw in some good time lapse here and there and some music, and hopefully we'll get to putting these parts on the motor soon. Stick around. Well, managed to have some success with the work yesterday. Got everything cleaned up nicely. Not everything, but a lot of things. And this thing came out really nice. After I got a bunch of the dirt off of the points set up, found out that that was kind of smashed also, like the original one from the bike. But it looks to be fine on all the parts that count, so I'll probably have to just get new points and condensers, which probably should anyways. This cover cleaned up nice. It does have a little bit of scratching there, about a ½ mil, so I'll have to sand through that. Hopefully I'll be able to sand through that. But it looks pretty good. So we'll be able to get that shined up. The worst thing that I found so far was this little side cover. The bearing that was in there was seized and nothing wanted to turn. And every step of the way, this weird powder keeps falling out. And I can't for the life of me figure out what this is. I think it's like plastic beads. Although now that I'm zooming in, they're not actually round like I thought. They're little flakes of something. I thought at first it was like laundry detergent. And the more I move this thing, the more it just falls out of that bearing. Anyways, I got the bearing to move. This little cam is all seized on there. So now I'm trying to get that off so I can get the bearing out. And that's turning into a little bit of a project that I didn't want to deal with. Everything else is looking good. The clutch basket, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, has this spring in the back that's rattly. And you can see it right there. And I'll put it by my microphone so you can hear it. It's very noisy. So I can't imagine that not making that sound when the bike was in use. And, you know, a couple of these are kind of loose. I just don't even know what these are for. So, anyways, I'll have to do some research and figure out about that. See if I can keep that or not. Other than that, everything's coming along nicely. Got the starter cleaned up. All these little side covers cleaned up nicely. It's funny how where the mud and grease was is the only spot that was kind of nice. So those will clean up nicely. We got this taken all apart so I can replace the oil seals. So We got some of these parts cleaned up for the SRIS line, and turns out that black rubber plug I had was actually white. And a few other pieces. So anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can figure out if there's a way to get this off. I'm about to probably mess up this little thing here, but that's okay. I have mine for my bike. I just got to get this off so I can drive that metal piece out of the bottom, that guy, and then hopefully be able to get the bearing pressed out or at least cleaned. So I'll let you know how it goes. There it is. There's all that weird white powder. Look at that. Amazing, huh? I don't know what the hell that would be. It definitely doesn't belong in there. Alright, it might have taken a few days longer than I thought it would, but I got all that junk cleaned up. It's been really hot out lately, so it's tough to go outside and play with gasoline. I got all these parts cleaned up. I did get a few things ordered to replace some of the broken side covers and such. One of the coolest things, though, that I learned was when I replaced this, I found out on a GT750 group on Facebook that these springs don't just do nothing. I found one on eBay that doesn't have the rattly spring. And I also found out that what happens is these springs get compressed over time and then they go bad. And I never knew that those springs were used for anything. But it turns out these 3 big old rivets here go through to this side. And that basket and this outer plate stay together, mated as one. But this inner sprocket in here doesn't have a hole. It has a long oval cut out. So what happens is when you dump your clutch, it doesn't like end up affecting as harshly as, to the crank as it would if these weren't here, because these would kind of like whip a little bit and soften the blow. Over time, though, they're going to get wore out. So I also found out that if you wanted to replace those, you can just grind off these welds, or sorry, these rivets, pop this little shield off, and then these springs are just able to come out and you can replace them. Put the shield back on, put the rivets back through, and then you can just weld what's left of the rivets to the shield. And I believe that's how it's done to replace those. Anyways, I digress. That was far too much work for me. I found one on eBay for 60 bucks. It came with all of the clutch stuff and some brand new springs. So I couldn't pass that up. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and do some stuff on time lapse. It's all the stuff that's on the side. We got this little oil distribution thing. I think it might also act to hold in these bearings. We got all our shift selector, shaft, and his friends. And I got a couple new drain plugs, one for the oil and one for the coolant. And then we got some new copper washers. And then I also got that little shift indicator indent thing that goes in there with the springs for the Kickstarter. And then if we get all that stuff done, then I might get over here to some of these electronic stuff on the other side of the motor, over on the driver's side. Anyways, guys, I'm going to go in the time lapse, put on some music, sit back and enjoy the show. Everything went on fairly well. If you guys want the part number for the O-ring that was back there, I'll go ahead and I'll put that in right here. And if you want the part numbers for these little screws, I'll go ahead and put that part number there too. The oil seal for this, you can just press in with your fingers. And I had to glue the little O-ring in place. I use this stuff called Seal All. I like this because it dries fast like super glue, but it doesn't harden brittle or dry brittle. It dries a little tiny bit flexible and gummy like a hard rubber. So it helps to seal. I also had wiped a little bit of the case sealer right around that area just to make sure no oil comes weeping out of there ever. Everything kind of went on like a dream. The only problem that I had with anything was trying to get this spring on. My pliers I wanted to use were needle nose, and the ones I have are these made in China garbage ones from Harbor Freight, which is a cheap tool company in America if you're not from here. Other little bit that I'd give you of a tip is on all of these, I use the red thread lock, Loctite type stuff, so that way they never come back out while you're driving. You did have to put this so it was right in the center tooth, was right in the middle of that gap on the shift selector tooth. Does that make sense? And in order to do that, you had to squeeze the pawls in a little bit and get it off of the notch. And as I was doing it all, I had it all set up in neutral. I think that's probably something that you should try and do too. And I think those are the only pieces of advice I'd give. I also got the new clutch basket, got a shipment from the postal man yesterday. I'll put in some of the pictures of that. Got a real nice clutch basket, and all of the plates, the steel plates, look better than the ones I had. Best of all, if you look, I'll show you the pictures here of some of the pieces of the basket. They're way less worn than my current ones. And my current ones, as you can see, have all of these, see right here on this outer edge, these dark abrasions. And then even on this piece too, you can see it's got all of those. And here's the newer one, superimposed photo technology. And you can see that one's in way better shape. So pretty good. The whole clutch thing, everything was $60, and it was like $20 shipping, so $80. Came with all of this hardware that I'll show right here. I think with all of these, I'm going to just sand with 360 grit first. This was my test sample. And I like doing the sandpaper because I can do it in the sink and not have to breathe all the junk. So I'll probably get started on that sooner than later. And yeah, stick around. All right, guys. Well, we just saw all of those side covers get the crud shined out of them. And if you want a more in-depth look at that, I actually made a whole separate video that you can go watch. I think it's called Polishing / Restoring Motorcycle Engine Covers. Anyways, if you go to my channel, it's the video that came out right before this video that you're watching. And I kind of show all the different steps a little bit closer. It's about a 15-minute video or so. Go check it out. Type me some comments to help out with the algorithm nonsense. But also, if you know like a step or two that could save me from hours of sanding on there, type it in the comments. Let me know. I'm just a guy trying to learn in his garage. I'm not a professional. Today, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take care of all of this driver's side sprocketry over here in this vicinity. I was going to do the clutch stuff, but I ordered the clutch stuff over 2 weeks ago, and CMSNL hasn't even shipped my order yet. What's up with that, guys? Come on, send my order. That kind of seems to be the way, the MO for this whole motor is you order parts and they get lost and then you buy more. Today we're going to be doing this, or rather this moment of the day, we're going to be doing the spragg clutch. I got a bunch of springs and plungers and rollers. They got to go together. And then it mates with this starter clutch. And the spragg clutch keeps the starter clutch from being able to go backwards and can only go forward. We got our tachometer drive. We got a plug in there. And then we got this double little gear thing that I believe just takes the starter over to the spragg clutch kind of stuff and to the crank. And then we got the water pump for the water pump sprocket. If you guys have ever shopped for those, they're all plastic and they're like 80 bucks or 100 bucks. And I have a really hard time making my money go towards a plastic sprocket. It just seems like a dumb idea. And I get that the sprocket's supposed to break when the water pump seizes. I understand all that. But I have a hard time with spending $100 on some piece of plastic from China. I hate Chinese made products. If you're from China, you're probably a beautiful person. I have nothing against you, but your country makes the worst products, especially if they're plastic. So all that aside, I did find this beautiful metal sprocket from a company called Mototech, or maybe it's called CL. I don't know. It was on eBay though, and there's more of these on eBay. They're also 100 bucks. What are you going to do though? You know, you're going to buy a plastic one for the 100? Not me. It came with the dowel, or the little pin that holds the water pump, and it came with the clip, a new clip, C-clip I think they're called, and a new thrust washer. So very nice, gentleman, from that eBay store. I highly recommend that, although obviously I know nothing about it. I haven't put it on. I'm going to go ahead and put it on time lapse. We're going to throw the spragg clutch together. Hopefully, if the springs fly off and everything, you won't have to see how crazy this is for me to put together. And maybe it'll hide some of my curse words. Just kidding. So stick around. We'll get that put on. And then hopefully soon we'll get some more parts and we can get this thing all finished soon. All right, guys, so this side needs its side cover now, but its side cover needs a little attention. So we're going to turn our focus to that. If you remember a few minutes ago in the video, I pressed the center shaft out of there and that bearing came out with it. Well, I don't really want to mess around trying to get this bearing off, so I took my old case cover that's sitting over there and I got a blind bearing extractor and I popped out that bearing and I actually stuck it in the freezer so it'll shrink. So it'll press in easier. This one actually turned out to have a sheared off dowel pin that might have happened when I pressed it out. That's okay. My threads on the end of this one were kind of biffed, so I what's that thing called? Tap and dyed it, or is that the tap? Either way, it's in case you got to do it yourself. It's an M10 bolt, and that was a 1.25 1.25 thread pitch. So anyways, I got that all set up. I got to remember to put this circlip back in that goes on top of that bearing before I put in the other bearing. And then I got an O-ring here that we got to replace. That feels like hard plastic. And then I'm going to put this in the freezer so that way this will fit and press into the bearing, hopefully a little easier. We got our dowel pins all ready to go and not using that. So stick around. I'm going to do all that on time lapse and hopefully get our first side cover on the side of the GT750. Okay, I froze this thing, and then I heated that with my heat gun. Whoa. Jeez. And that's that. I made it now. guys, we've had another unfortunate turn of events. And to say that I'm upset about it is just a little bit of an understatement. You can probably tell by my face that I'm right on the brink of crying, but I'm not going to. I went today, as you just saw, and we put on some pieces. So let's start with the good things. We got the sprocket on. It looks beautiful. We got on our shift selector switch. It looks really nice. It looks beautiful. Had some issues getting that ready to get on there with the screws. Ended up grinding them down a little bit because they seemed like they wanted to bottom out before it was snug. And if you remember, I had to get new screws because those are stripped out, and they were like a 0.8 pitch on the thread, and I think they might have been an M5. I don't know. They were a very odd character, so didn't have any of those laying around. Had to buy some new ones. Anyways, we got all that put in, fitted nicely, but when I went to put the sprocket cover on, it would never seat right for some reason. Over the switch. I'm laughing because how stupid I am. I'm kind of a crash my way through life and learn as I fall type of a dude, I guess. So as I looked, I kept looking in there, and I finally pulled this off, and I looked, and it was kind of all chewed up here, and I thought, man, maybe somebody else's is real snug. Maybe that's a normal thing. And when I looked, it had a gap of like a half a centimeter that wouldn't close, or even a centimeter. So I went and got the old case, and I started examining them, and look at what I noticed. You see this little hump here for the switch? Look at the size difference. This one's like a centimeter, while this one's like 3 centimeters. Oh, mercy. So, in case you didn't know, my case sprocket cover was busted, more than likely from a chain whipping when it broke. So I didn't know that these were special to certain years. I thought they were all the same. And then when I got the sprocket cover from eBay, which, by the way, said it was for a 72 all the way to a 78, it didn't have the little gear changing diagram right here. So I thought to myself, that's okay. I don't need that. The early ones probably just had that. And I took it and I test fitted it, and it fit great. Of course, at that time, I didn't have the switch on. Now that I have the selector indicator majigger, oh, it doesn't fit. So I went online. There's none available. There's a whole bunch of these. Well, there's 2 other of these for like $1 million. So unobtainable, unobtainium, as they call it. So my dilemma now is, do I go and I just do what I originally kind of felt prompted to do, which was just use this one anyways? Because look, once you put the window over it, you can't even tell it's broken. Why did I not want to use this? Because I want this to be perfect, right? And also, if a chain breaks, obviously, and this isn't here, it's going to hit the case and bust your whole engine. I realize this is a lot of talking, and you're probably just here because you're curious to see how to put your motor together. Well, you guys are involved now, okay? We're all in this. You know what happened? October happened. October 1st was the other day. Do you know what that means? That means that this has been 1 whole year of my life. 1 whole year of trying to get this turd polished. Oh, it's frustrating, guys. And the problem is I never can do too many steps ahead because everything's reliant on the previous steps. So by the time I get somewhere and I need a part and it takes, 3 months to come from freaking Norway or wherever, in the meantime, I'm not getting anything else done. And then once that part comes and I get that piece on, that little tiny speck, I go to the next thing and it's like, oh, well, now I need this. And half the time it ends up being the O-rings. This freaking dang gasket and O-ring set that I got, it's got O-rings, but it just doesn't seem to have the ones that I need. I had to wait a few days or a week because of that one that was on, I don't even know what this piece is called, guys. This little stator or timing points thing, there was an O-ring in there. And you know what I found out? That I could have put that in and popped the O-ring in through there. Anyways, like a chicken with his head cut off, running around just doing stuff, but nothing's getting done. So that's it. That's the negative part. That's the soap opera drama for this episode. I got a guy, on Facebook group. This guy named Reg. If you guys do GT750s, you've probably met this guy, and he has parts, and hopefully Reg will have this part for me. He says he's got two. Hopefully one's nice. Stinks because I just want to wrap this up. I want to get this video done, and now I got to wait for that to get that done. I don't really want to put this on because I feel like that little window is going to not go on right. But you know what? We're pushing on. I'm going to get the starter out. We're going to go through this and clean this up and make sure she's good to go, so that way we don't get there and then run into this brick wall again. I'm just going to go ahead. We're going to put the gasket on here. We're going to put it on, and we're just going to march forward. For some reason, I lost all the hardware for all of the sprocket covers. I don't know. Can't find them anywhere. A year. That's what happened. So I went and I got some socket cap fancy ones from my little box of treasure, and I think we're just going to end up putting the socket caps on everything. So stick around, guys. Shit just got real. Well, guys, as you just saw, I am currently still an idiot, but I can stumble my way through the dark and find my way around. So if you guys are taking this thing apart yourself to clean and to lubricate, take the two screws off the side and then take this lid off. And this whole centerpiece can just slide right out, and then you can service it a lot easier. As you can see by this picture here, there was a lot of junk inside, so it was worth cleaning. And I used white lithium grease. Somebody can probably type in the comments how I'm wrong about that, but that's all right. It's too late now. Also, you guys can see that I took off this little wire here, and I tried to force that out with that little brush setup, and I didn't realize that it was soldered to one of those coils on the inside of this tube. So I snapped that. You can see the photo here of the wire snapped, and then I soldered that. Here's some photos here of me soldering it. And now you're all caught up to what that whole Twitter jitter show is all about. Got everything back together. I lubed up the little bushings at the top and the bottom. And everything's super clean now. I really didn't want to have to buy another one because this is such a nice looking starter. So we're going to go ahead and test it. I got the positive lead already hooked up. This is a little motorcycle jump pack that I use to kind of test stuff out like this. If this thing works, when I touch this onto the negative terminal here, the thing should spin. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Nice. That was pretty smooth. Let's try again. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Spark show. Yeah. Nice. All right. So we got something good happening. We got the starter running. I'm going to go ahead and put that in and then hopefully get something done.